Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors. And now that we are in April, we want to talk about our healthcare decisions. Today, we are going to be speaking about You're Dead, Now What? Exploring body disposition options. I have Alex Trevino here with me. Alex is with Pima Council on Aging. He is a caregiving and end of life specialist. Welcome, Alex. How are you today?
Good, good. How about you?
Good, thank you. I'm glad that you're here to sort of share with us more about, what does this mean? What are the options that are available to somebody? It's things that people need to think about, so that we can make sure that their wishes are followed. So thank you so much for being here today. You do have an online audience that's watching along with an in-person audience. So if you're watching from home, if you have a question for Alex, please go ahead and leave those in the chat and I will ask Alex those questions afterwards. Alex, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to get started.
Thank you. So our presentation today, You're Dead Now What? So this is about exploring body disposition options. And it's a little tricky when it comes to this slide. I understand that you have completed a registration form, but if you would want to, or if you could, that we have other registration forms right there on the side of the table there. And I'll just skip the rest because it's part of your process. So just want to start like we always start by expressing our gratitude to the Sharon Kent Endowment held at the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona. And so what is body disposition? And this might not be a term or a word that you use often, disposition, but it simply means what happens with someone's body after they die. This is often associated with choices between burial or cremation, but there are more options out there. So including organ and whole body donation. There are also many things to take into consideration, such as your personal values, religious or spiritual beliefs, the cost, eligibility of the option, and more things, which we'll cover in this presentation. So I am hoping that by the end, you will feel more confident with your options and how to make the best decisions that you can make about your disposition choices. Now, organ and body donation. Organ donation is the process of giving all or part of an organ for the purpose of transplanting into a living recipient or for research. The organs that get used for research have been evaluated and deemed unsuitable for transplantation of course, if the donor has elected to allow for transplant or research. So organs that are considered for a donation include a heart, lungs, kidney, liver, intestines, pancreas, cornea, and tissue such as skin, bone, heart valves, ligaments, tendons, and veins. So out of the millions of deaths in the United States every year, only about 2% are appropriate for organ donation. And this may be due to illness that caused death, or as well as lack of oxygen circulating the body after death. So it is important to note that choosing organ donation doesn't mean that your medical team will withhold medical treatment, which is a fear that is more common than we think or would like it to be. So medical teams will provide care consistent with your wishes. If you wish to have every attempt made at life-sustaining treatments, they will do so. So consideration for organ donation only starts once every attempt has been made with no success. Once a person dies, the medical team will contact the organ procurement organization. So in Arizona, this is the Donor Network of Arizona. They will check the donor registry at that point. If the individual is registered, they will notify the family. This choice generally cannot be overridden by the family. If they were not registered, the team will ask the family if they want to authorize donation. If you feel strongly against organ donation, let people that will speak for you know that. So it is really important to have good communication with the people that are going to be making decisions for you, and people around you. So everything's clear, and they know what you want. So additionally, if you previously wanted to donate an organ and had registered, you will need to go through a formal process to revoke that. It is a good idea to include this information in your advance directives to any changes, anything that it's a change in your decisions. It is a good habit to put it down in your advance directives. So to revoke decisions about organ donation, you will need to go through the organization you registered with. In Arizona, that would be Donate Arizona or dnaz.org, and send them an email indicating that you have changed your mind at that point. So whole body donation works a little different. It almost always requires pre-registration. Many of these programs won't accept a power of attorney, next of kin, or guardian or conservator signatures. So it is something that your loved ones cannot do for you. So you have to set it up yourself ahead of time. So in general, this process consists of finding the program that work for you, a program that you like, contacting them, and they will usually do a pre-screening and to see if you're a good candidate for them. So in general, this process so given this pre-screening can happen years before the donation, it is not a guarantee of acceptance. So as you may have something happen in between you registering and death. So that would make you ineligible for that program. So once death has occurred, the hospital or your loved ones will need to contact the organization that you registered with. They will usually do another screening for a medical and social history to determine if you're still a candidate for that program. So if you are still a candidate, the organization will typically coordinate everything from that point, including transportation, filing death certificate, and cremation. Not all of organizations do this, so it's good to ask them as many questions as you can or as you can think of, and be clear on what they would provide and what your family would be responsible for. And most organizations don't offer the body back, but they will often coordinate a return of the ashes. Another thing to consider is the time that will take. Some organizations will take longer, and it depends if that's still ideal for you and your family to wait a longer period of time. So burial. So burial includes internment, in-ground burial, entombment, above-ground burial, and interment, above-ground storing of the ashes. So ground burial can be traditional or natural or green burial. So above ground can be in a mausoleum or crypt. Interment may occur in a crypt, mausoleum, or a columbarium niche. And some right here I'm gonna be using or during this presentation I'm gonna use casket as catch-all term, but there is a difference between casket and a coffin. Casket is the most common used in North America, and that's a rectangular box, and it can be made of different materials, right? Where a coffin, it's meant to mimic the shape of the body, so it's wider on the shoulders, and it goes down to towards the feet. It's slimmer towards the feet. So it's what you normally see in vampire movies or things like that. So interment with a traditional ground burial, the body may or may not be embalmed, depending on the location and the laws of local laws and funeral home requirements. So the body will then be placed in a casket. Then the casket is placed in the ground with either a vault or a burial liner. The vault can be made of concrete or steel or a lightweight fiberglass material. It completely encompasses the casket in the grave. So compared to a liner, it covers only the top and sides of the grave. So both of this serve to prevent the ground from collapsing. A vault can also help prevent chemicals from the casket or the embalming process from getting into the ground and to groundwater. Once the casket is in the ground and covered, most people will choose to have some some sort of grave marker. In contrast, natural burials means that the body won't be embalmed, and if there is a reason for the body to be embalmed or that it was embalmed, then green burial is not an option at that point. So the body can be placed in a biodegradable container or a shroud, or even placed directly into the ground when it comes to natural burials. There wouldn't be a burial liner or vault used in these places. So the goal of natural or green cemeteries is to care for the dead with a minimal environmental impact and the restoration or preservation of the land. So for those reasons, some green cemeteries will not allow grave markers, and the ones to do don't generally allow headstones. So other yes.
GPS, what is that?
It's positioning ground.
Global
positioning.
It's a global positioning system. Another option for markers is GPS, which there was a question, what was GPS? So it's basically coordinates, right, that you would use. So another option is flat corner markers, metal spikes, or plain engraved field stones. So entombment is an above ground burial in a crypt or a mausoleum. The use of the word crypt has changed throughout history, but historically a crypt refers to an underground area meant to hold remains. Often this were in churches. Some people now refer to crypts as any place that holds remains, but this is a less accurate use of the word. A mausoleum is also a place that holds remains, but above ground, public, like, but it is above ground. So public mausoleums, where anyone can be entombed, are often found in cemeteries, whereas private mausoleums, which is where for exclusive use of a family, maybe in a purchased section of the cemetery or in private property. So both crypts and mausoleums still require the body to be in some sort of casket to hold the body. So if you're deciding between the different burial options, the first thing you'll want to consider is the cost. There are the upfront costs associated with transportation of the body, embalming, getting the casket, viewing a wake or memorial service, and the interment or entombment of the body. So there are also less considered costs, like having the funeral home file for death certificates, upkeep, and etc. So cremation. So according to the Cremation Association of North America, cremation is defined as the mechanical, thermal, or other dissolution process that reduces the human remains to bone fragments. It's all. Okay. So this also includes the processing of and pulverization of the bone fragments into pieces that are usually no more than an eighth of an inch in size. So many associate this, when you hear cremation, many associate it with heat or flames. But there are other options like water cremation or what it's called. Water cremation, and we'll get into that in a minute. So, like I said, when people hear about the word cremation, most will think about flame cremation, which is why it is often called a traditional cremation. This is the most common type of cremation used in North America. And because of that, it is easily available in all 50 states and throughout most funeral homes. So the process of flame cremation involves putting the body into a cremation container. This must be completely enclosed, rigid, leak resistant, and of course combustible. So options include like cardboard containers, wooden caskets, and even highly polished caskets if they are combustible and non-toxic. So the container is then put into a cremator, and the process is started at that point. So once finished, bone fragments are swept into a cooling tray. Once cooled, they're taken to a processor, which is a machine that uses blades to pulverize the bone fragments. The actual process of cremation takes about 2 to 4 hours, depending on the temperature they use. So, but this doesn't include the time for the bone fragments to cool down. So, water cremation, or also known as alkaline hydrolysis or aquamation. With this process, the body is placed into a machine along with a solution of water and alkali, and I believe it's 95% water, 5% alkali solution. This is then heated and then sometimes pressurized, depending on the machine they're using. So this mimics the natural decomposition process of the body, but at a much accelerated rate. This process can take anywhere from from 4 to 18 hours, depending on the temperature and again the machine that they're using. In the end, there are two things remaining. So you get sterile water, and in most cases that will be returned to wastewater treatment system, but it depends on local regulations. And this water, I mean, it is really sterile water. They test this often, and it's not a contaminant. So the second thing that you get is bones. So the bones are then dried, and as with flame cremation, they are pulverized into what it is called cremains. So this it's basically the same process at that point. So what to do with ashes? So some people feel strongly about being cremated, but they don't know what they want done with their ashes. In some situations, the choice is left up to loved ones to decide, but often people ask for something specific to be done. Of course, ashes can be kept in an urn, but that has even that has some additional choices to consider. So, how about it? Are they kept in someone's home, or and how can people visit, or pay their respects if it's on someone's home? So people may choose not to keep the ashes in their homes for many reasons. Um, First of all, it can if the person has several people or the ashes of several loved ones, it can become overwhelming for the person, uh, which would not be a good thing for them. Uh, Also, this is very real. I mean, people are afraid of breaking the urns. If they have pets, they have kids. Maybe they don't want those ashes there. Uh, and another one would be of it being awkward if people want to visit, and having to ask permission to that person to go to their home and paying their respects to their loved ones. So whatever the reason, uh, a columbarium offers a potential solution to this. This is a specific building that stores the ashes. The unit, so the unit that the ashes are stored in is called the columbarium niche. So um, let's keep going. So spreading what to do with the ashes. Spreading the ashes, um, this can be at a place of significance, but it is important to keep in mind that it is not legal just to spread ashes anywhere you want. You'll need to determine what kind of land you want to spread the ashes on, that being private property, national or state parks, other public lands, or water. So this to figure out what additional things you may need. Uh, this will vary by state, city, and county. So in general, for national parks and public lands, you will need a permit where, depending on the area, and some areas, there just won't be, will be off limits to do this. So when it comes to water, it depends on what type of water system you want to use. The requirements for inland water, like lakes, rivers, generally vary depending on the governing body of that uh, waterway. So for scattering in the ocean, there are specific requirements for where the ashes can be scattered due to Clean Water Act. In general, spreading must be at least 3 nautical miles from the shore, must be in an urn, or it can be in an urn that can decompose. But if it's or it can just not be in an urn at all. And the EPA must be notified within 30 days of scatter. If you don't have a loved one that can or that will spread your ashes, there are some companies and individuals who offer this type of service. So there are other options available for those who don't want their ashes kept in an urn and don't want their ashes spread either. There are many artists and companies who will do various things with the ashes. One of the most common options is art glass, which is what we have there in the picture or in the slide. So people are getting really creative with what you can do with ashes. Some companies can create jewelry out of by pressurizing the ashes. And there's just new things going on. Some companies or organizations can mix it with paint to create art pieces. So it just depends on what you want. And for some people it might be a little weird. For some people it might be ideal for them to have that option. But I'm always really glad or happy to have more options for people, right? So what to consider when picking a cremation option. So both water cremation and flame cremation leave bones, which are then pulverized, and this gives what we think of as ashes. Some of the differences between water cremation is that the bones have to be dried before they are pulverized. The ashes from water cremation are whiter in color, and you get a little more. You get a little more ashes than you would get with flame cremation. So embalming is allowed before both flame and water cremation. So some medical devices like pacemakers and other battery-operated medical implants need to be removed before flame cremation due to them having batteries and exposure to heat, which is not the case for water cremation. So at this time, water cremation is legal in 19 states. However, it does not mean that there are companies currently in those states offering this service. If it's not available in your state, this means that doesn't mean that you cannot choose it. It just means that you may have to pay more for transportation fees. So, and speaking of transportation costs, water cremation may cost more in areas where there aren't many facilities offering this. Another thing you may want to consider is the environmental impact. Water cremation is typically a more environmentally friendly option. On average, it uses 90% less energy than flame cremation, with 10 times less carbon dioxide emissions. So when it comes to, well, I'll talk about availability in Arizona in a few slides. So now, natural organic production, or also called human composting, it is a controlled version of the decomposition process. The exact process will vary depending on the company and facility that is providing the service, but it involves placing the body into a vessel along with plant material, such as wood chips, alfalfa, and straw. So then the vessel is closed, and the microbes on the body and plant material create a heat responsible for the decomposition process. The process generally takes about 30 days to get to the end soil. This is when So once you get that end soil, this is screened for non-organic materials like implants, tooth fillings, medical implants, so which are at that point removed. So bones are not fully broken down during this process. So most facilities will use that machine to mechanically reduce the bones, which are then reincorporated into the soil while adding additional nutrients. So the soil then cures or dries for another 2 to 4 weeks after that. So this means a total process from body going into a vessel to getting soil is about 6 to 8 weeks. So studies have shown and or studies have been done which show that pharmaceuticals, pathogens, etc., are broken down in the process, and the soil is safe. And most companies do testing on the soil to ensure that this is the case. At the end of the process, your loved ones can choose to take home that soil or donate it. If they take it home, they can use it in their garden or to plant a memorial tree. There are several things that can be done with the soil since it's really rich soil at this point. So when it comes to donation, the exact process and location varies based on the company. Some existing companies send the donated soil to environmental conservation projects for things such as erosion repair, replanting native plants after removal of invasive species, tree nurseries, and such things. So, when it comes to natural organic reduction, medical implants don't have to be removed for this process. While many pathogens are killed during the decomposition process, some can remain. So individuals with some pathogens, including Ebola and prion disease, are unable to have to go through this process, since those pathogens won't be killed during it. Other reason people may not be able to undergo this process is if they have been embalmed. So the point of embalming is delaying or stopping the decomposition process, which is opposite of what what natural organic reduction is doing. So then if the person or if the body is embalmed, this wouldn't be an option at that point. Additionally, some radiation treatments may make someone ineligible or ineligible, depending on the time frame of that treatment and to the time of death. So many people are drawn to this option because it is environmentally friendly compared to other disposition options. It uses 1/8 of the energy of burial and flame cremation and saves 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide from being released into the atmosphere. Finally, availability should be taken into account. This is one of the newest options that is currently on legal on 6 states. And I believe we're months from having this locally as an option. So now let's talk about some general considerations. How about we start by considering your personal and family values. So it is important that your family has a place to. Is it important for your family to have a place to visit? So have you always put environmental considerations or concerns first? So think about what's important to you. So the next thing, to consider is religious and spiritual beliefs. So some religions are opposed to some of these options that, or have specific guidelines on things that should happen after death, and the time frame in which they should happen, which may not be compatible with some of these options. Um, if you're not sure, we recommend that you check with your religious leaders uh, for guidance on this. So the next thing to consider is availability. As I've mentioned, not all the options are legal in all states, and not all states where they're legal might have a, a facility that provides the service. So, doesn't mean again that you cannot get that option. It just means that you might have to consider other things like transportation. Um, so cost is also an important factor to consider. While cost is well, it varies depending on location and business. Generally, traditional burial will be the most expensive option. Um, so another component of cost is package options that are available through a funeral home or an or a facility. If they have packages, if that's if you're looking into like a funeral home, if they have packages, what does this include? Um, and it's always good to have a clear understanding of what their services include and their packages include. So it's a good idea for it to include a viewing, transportation costs, and the process itself. If they don't offer packages, how much will each service would cost? So another cost considerations are you able to prepay for that option? If so, then is there an agreement to get some amount of money back if you change your mind? Or what if the business closes down, right? What are your options at that point? So eligibility also needs to be taken into consideration. What will happen if you're eligible for an option today, but become uneligible at the time of death? So even if you are eligible for something now, it's a good idea to consider a backup plan. So, for example, if you're doing body donation and you go through the screening, you're eligible now, but something happens in between and you're not eligible at the time of death, it's good to have a second option, or what would be your second choice. So when it comes to cost, I usually tell people to treat it as any other purchase. Shop around. Some might feel weird or strange to some people, but treat it as if you were buying a car or a TV. Just look at other places, look at reviews to make sure that this is what you want and that you're getting a good price for the same service that other funeral homes might be providing. So, you consider, let's say you consider all the options. Take and you've taken all the things we've discussed into consideration, and you have a plan. Okay, so what should you do now? As with any end of life things, you should talk to your loved ones and make sure that they understand what you want, and maybe even explain why you want that. So along with this conversations, it is always good to update or share your advanced directives, which is a really important part of end of life planning. Um, so advanced directives offer a place for you to not only list your wishes for your medical care, but also your wishes for disposition. So at PCOA, we can help you complete your advanced directives. If you have end-of-life care planning questions or concerns, you can always call us. And it is great that here you also have this service available where you can have someone help you with your advanced directives, which is really important part of this. Um, Now, I believe we're gonna go to people online for questions.
Yes, thanks, Alex. So I do have a couple of questions that came in. One is about, I know you talked about the green burial options. Are there any places for a green burial in Tucson?
Mm-hmm. And I haven't visited it, which I've been wanting to, but it's down in Marana.
Okay.
You can find and then there's some others around, but the closest one would be the one in Marana.
Is Marana. Okay. And then what would happen if somebody didn't specify sort of what their wishes were? They don't have any family to make that decision afterwards and you've died. What's the process then at that point?
If they don't have anyone,
If they have not expressed their wishes anywhere, it hasn't been documented anywhere, what would happen at that point?
well, it gets a little complicated in the same question. But my emphasis would be more on you got to make those plans known, and that's the importance of sharing what you want. I'm not really, to be honest. If you can send me the information for that person, I can look into the specifics of what would happen and their situation, because that's basically against what.
Right, you try to put everything into place beforehand. I
Yes.
just think that sometimes there aren't those options. So that was just a question that came in. How about how do you know if you're selecting a reputable source, maybe for your burial, or whatever way you decide that you want to handle your end of life? How do you determine who you should use as a reputable source?
So, and this about choosing a funeral home or
Right. Whether it's a funeral home, whether it's, wherever they decide that they're going to end up, if they want to be buried somewhere or they're going to be cremated, how would they choose that source?
so and that's why I was saying like I feel it's really important for people to consider like looking into different places and comparing them, looking at reviews. I mean, right now we have access to online reviews, like everyone, one of us has access to that. But the other thing that you might want to consider, or that I tend to recommend, is looking into the Funeral Consumers Alliance, and they have this. For example, if it's about pricing, they have this list of different prices for different funeral homes in the area. So even though it's not up to date, you get a good sense of what their prices are, and
Right.
and starting your research. I mean, doing you'll. The other thing I would say, it's may not be as common, but there's a feeling too. If you don't feel right about a certain place, or it feels awkward, just move on to a different one.
Yeah, so thank you for mentioning the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Arizona. We actually have them coming at the end of the month. They have been here before, and I think it's great because they do provide some of that pricing.
Yes.
Comparing the different places. They actually do this in all over the state of Arizona, but that's a great reference. They usually provide a lot of wonderful information for folks to make those decisions down the road as well. So I do want to go ahead and put up, if somebody is interested in more information, Alex, from Pima Council on Aging for your end of life, for end of life care. I want to go ahead and put the phone number up for you. It is 520-790-7573, and it is extension 1778. So please, feel free to reach out to Alex if you have additional questions for him. Also, we do have one-on-one appointments here to help folks complete those advanced directives with their healthcare advanced directives over here at TMC for Seniors too. So if anyone is interested, they can certainly reach out to us in the office. I want to thank you so much for being here, Alex. I am going to wrap it up with our online audience, and I will turn it over to you for any questions in person. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you'll be back. We have actually another presentation this afternoon. It is Circulation Matters, Identifying and Treating Peripheral Arterial Disease, or PAD. That is today, Wednesday, April 2nd at 2 p.m. with Dr. Cody Kramer with TMC1. He's a TMC1 vascular surgeon. If you are interested in that class and are not signed up, we'd be happy to get you signed up. The phone number is 520-324-1960. I also want to put in one last plug for Stroke Prevention Saturday. That is this Saturday, April 5th. If you have not been registered for an appointment time or an appointment window to get the process started, the phone number is 520-324-1960. Thanks so much. Hope to see you again later. Bye.